And welcome to Management Across Cultures. Today my group and I will be discussing a hypothetical scenario whereby we have two national airlines who are looking to come together as a merger to form one international airline. They're looking to service, by the time they're up and running and implemented, they want to be able to service 50 countries around the globe. What we'll be discussing today is not so much their ability to, say, implement new financial structures to make all this happen. What we'll be looking at is some of the cultural issues that may cause divide or create tension. Further still, where there will be benefits and strengths, where the two countries actually have some similarities in their cultures, and where partnerships might arise. And further, we want to look at what it's going to take to actually make all of this happen, and different strategies that they can use when they're considering their negotiations and when they're actually going to implement everything. So first up, we have Luke, who's going to discuss globe theory, being the global leadership and organizational behavioral effectiveness. He'll be looking at the tendencies and cultural norms to understand how groups may respond and handle situations. So let's say any scenario arises, right? Australia does X, how does Japan respond? And being able to actually address sort of the cultural sentiment in a quantified sense can give us an idea, not necessarily always the perfect scenario, but can give us an idea of how one may react to the other. Next we have David, who will be talking about selecting the right partner. Again, this is absolutely crucial and fundamental to finding any success when you're considering any sort of partnership, let alone a merger. In this scenario, we're actually looking at bringing two together, hence merge. And what we're going to be deciding here is what are some of these strengths, what are some of these weaknesses. Looking at, are there any complementary organizational cultures? Is there a way or different methods or even, say, certain sentiment within the society that allows these two cultures to cooperate in a very cohesive sort of sense? Further to that, we'll be looking at the corporate philosophies. Here, when you're talking about bringing two corporations together, are there certain symbiotic ideals that actually kind of create a scenario where it could really be viable and really be potential, even before we're considering any other issues? To do this, he'll be looking at, say, key factor theory and Johari, of course, to be able to address this. Next, we have Gabrielle, approaches to negotiations, a particularly interesting part. This is going to be looking at the stages of negotiations, say pre-formal, formal, post. Obviously using Lufthansa and DO, using smart concepts, and looking at integrative approach to negotiations. Again, we all understand that there's different roadblocks that can inhibit the way, the flow, and sort of the consistencies within that negotiating process. And so by looking at different methods, we can sort of make a recommendation as to what one country might do, what country should do, and ultimately kind of lean towards a decision that could be beneficial for all parties involved. Again, ending with that a recommendation at the end of the scenario there. Next we have AREC, conflict and communication. This is particularly crucial. It's one thing to be able to say that we want to achieve X, but if we can't find a way to manage the problems as they arise, we're going to fall flat. So by doing this, we're going to be looking at, say, understanding the concepts first. Again, conflicts and communication. So understanding what that is, how they affect each other, the relationships, and then looking at the cultural differences between the two societies and how they might respond, once again, to different conflicts. To really get a handle around this as a whole, we'll be looking at, say, 5 Strategies by Kenneth Thomas, and to be completely frank, a very positive outlook on what can be achieved. Again, if we can walk into a scenario that's actually well rehearsed and understood. Finally, we have Edward, who's looking at managing agreements. To do this, finally, we'll be looking at Hall model given high and low context cultures, and methodology that can actually be used to instigate a contract. Once again, understanding how different countries respond to different scenarios, we need to find something that's going to be mutually agreeable, consistent, and understanding how parties respond to different scenarios. In the end, I hope you all enjoy the presentation, and we'll see you all soon.